Hello everyone and welcome back. In this lesson, we are going to look at how to delete and recreate faces on your model. So let's delete one of these faces. So I'm going to go into face select mode by pressing 3 on the keyboard, and then I'm going to select this top face. And if you want to delete this, you can simply press X on the keyboard and this will bring up the delete menu. So you can choose to delete vertices, edges, faces, and a whole lot of other things. So for now, we are just going to focus on faces. So you'll see that it's now deleted that top face of our cube. So we have like an empty open cube. Now let's say we want to create a new face on top of this cube. So simply we need to go into edge select mode. So then simply click on this edge, shift, click on this edge. And the shortcut to fill these two with a new face is F. F is for fill. And then you can see I've created a brand new face between those two edges. So let's do something a little bit more complicated so you can see how it works. So let's create a loop cut. So I'm going to press Ctrl R, point my mouse and click and drag, and let's create another loop cut. Ctrl R, click and drag, and maybe let's create one more here on the side. Click and drag and maybe one more at the bottom. So we have created 4 loop cuts. So let's delete this face right here in the center. So I'm going to press 3 to go to face select mode, select this face, press X and choose faces. We want to delete that one face. Now you can see we have got this hole inside of our model, and simply to create a new face, we can select. So make sure you're in edge select mode by pressing 2 and then hold shift, select another face and then press F to fill that with a new face. So you can see we have created that new face again and it's attached to our model. So now we can obviously go ahead and we can extrude and we can bevel and do interesting stuff with it. So let's create another loop cut on this side. So I'm going to create a loop cut, another loop cut, and I'm going to do something similar on this. So I'm gonna select this face, press 3 to go into face select mode, select this face and delete it. Now what I want to do is I want to extrude these edges, so you can also extrude an edge. So I'm going to go into edge select mode by pressing 2 on the keyboard. So I'm going to select this edge, shift, this edge, shift, this edge, shift. So I've got all those 4 edges selected, and now I'm going to press E to extrude those edges. And as you can see, we are now extruding those edges. Now I want to extrude them straight onto the Y-axis. The Y-axis is this green line, and you can see the green there is the Y-axis. So I'm simply going to press Y on the keyboard, and I can see it's locking that movement or that extrusion to the Y-axis. Now I can simply select 2 of these edges, so the top one and the bottom one, and then press F to fill that with a brand new face. Let's see what will happen if we delete an edge. So I'm going to go into edge select mode by pressing 2, and let's select one of these edges. So with this edge selected, I'm going to press X on the keyboard, and this time I'm going to select edges because we want to delete that edge. And I can see because we delete that one edge, it's also going to delete the faces on other side, because these 2 faces can't connect if there is no edge between them. So now we can go into vertex select mode by pressing 1 on the keyboard. So now we can create an edge between these 2 vertices. So I'm going to click on this one vertex and I'm going to shift click on the bottom one. So there's nothing between them. No faces, no edges, nothing. So now I can simply press F as well, and that's going to connect those 2 vertices with a new edge. So now we can switch to edge mode by pressing 2 on the keyboard. Click this edge, shift and this edge, and then press F to fill that with a face. So you can do the same with this hole on this side. So I can click on this edge, shift, click on this edge, and then simply press F to fill that hole. Now remember, if you have two vertices, let's say we subdivide this edge at the top and this edge. I'm going to right click subdivide just to create one extra vertex in the middle. So if I press 1 to go into vertex select mode, you'll see that we got that one vertex there and this one vertex at the bottom. Now because there are faces between this, I can just go and select them and press F. If I do that, it's not going to connect this edge to these other faces and edges. So as you can see, if I go into vertex select mode, there's no vertices there and there's no vertices here. So if I select this edge that we now created and I move it around, you can see that it's only connected to the top and the bottom edges. It is not connected to this middle section of our model, which doesn't really work. So I'm going to undo that. So if you want to connect vertices to each other, but there are faces or geometry between them, you need to use the J shortcut. So if I press J, you'll see it's gonna link those two vertices with a new edge, but it's also going to connect that edge to the different geometry in between them. So I've got a vertex there that I can move around, or I can select this edge going all the way from the top to bottom. And I can move that around by pressing G, and it's going to be connected to everything. So that's kind of the way to connect two vertices together, slicing through the geometry to get there. So let's do one more example. So press 1 to go into vertex mode, and let's say we want to connect this vertex on top with this vertex. So if I press J, it's going to connect them and it's going to slice through this face. So now if I go to face select mode, you will see that we have two faces right here. So now we can do something like, let's select both these faces, press I to insert, maybe press I again, and I can press E to extrude. Let's say if you want to delete this edge right here in the middle, but you don't really want to delete, you just want to dissolve it. So let me show the difference. If I got this edge selected and I press X and select edge to delete that, that's going to basically delete those faces as well. Now we got a hole there, so let's undo that. Now I'm going to press X again, and this time I'm going to go down to dissolve. So you'll see we got dissolve vertices, dissolve edges, and dissolve faces. So now if I press dissolve edges, you can see that it's deleted the edge, but it actually kept that. So now I can obviously create an insert on that face again, and now I can extrude that. So let's say we want to maybe dissolve some of these other edges. Let's say we want to dissolve these 4 edges going around this face. So I'm going to press 2 to go into edge select mode. Select these 4 edges by holding shift. And I'm going to press X dissolve edges, and I can see it's going to keep the face, but it's obviously going to delete those edges. So the shape of this face will change. So now we can maybe do something like create an insert and then extrude that out. So just keep in mind that there's a difference between deleting an edge or a face or a vertex than dissolving. Sometimes it doesn't work. You can't just dissolve something that's maybe sitting on a corner. So if I try and dissolve these 2 vertices, let's see what happens. It's kind of going to mess everything up because it can't just have those edges floating in middle if it's not connected to a vertex or to some face. So we can just undo that. So let's see if we dissolve maybe these edges. So if I press X, dissolve edge, you can see it's kind of doing the same thing, because you can't just have things floating in mid-air. Just keep practice these new functions that you have learned. I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye.